Hello, album enjoyers. Thank you for downloading or streaming or whatever it is you do. Just a quick note at the start of the show to remind you to sign up to the Enjoy an Album Patreon.
Become an ultra.
For a mere £5 a month, you get an ad-free experience. You get pre-show sales. You get extra episodes. Some of the episodes we've done so far include Hamilton, Mogwai, The Darkness, The Flaming Lips, The Raytons, and coming up, or we've just released, maybe it's just out.
The Robbie Williams.
Is My Chemical Romance. I
Yeah.
wore eyeliner for that episode, so if you want to see that, sign up to the Patreon now. If you want an ad-free experience, if you don't want to hear this ad or the Manscaped ad, then sign up to the Patreon.
And it's just kind of built on a culture of soundness. So if you listen every week and you dig it and you want it to keep happening, support the podcast. And then we really appreciate it. We have a lovely community on Patreon, all the ultras there, and we can people chip in ideas for albums to listen to, and people send in questions, and it's just if you wanted to keep happening, then join the Ultra Army.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for all the ultras who are out there so far who can't hear this because they're on the Patreon, so they don't get this ad. And thank you to the future patrons who are signing up because of this and enjoy the bloody episode.
If you think, if I bumped into them at a Black Country New Road concert, would I buy them a pint? You don't need to buy us a pint.
Yeah.
You just give us a pint every month.
Yeah.
That is in the form of money.
Please?
Don't say please, it's pathetic. But thank you so much.
Enjoy the app.
Enjoy the episode, please.
Bye. Hello, and welcome to the Enjoy Now podcast with Lynn Widnow and not Christopher McCarthy Boyd, Stuart McPherson. Hong Kong Conky's in the house.
Hello.
Hello. Chris away this week. He's opening for Bernard Manning on tour. No, he's away doing actual serious work, and so we've got a special guest host in. I think I introduced him in the main body of the episode, so we're not going to introduce you again right now. People know who you are.
Will we do an outro? It'd be nice to be introduced the third time.
Yeah. Well, we can actually, we could record a Manscaped ad with you in inexplicably, keep you on then forever. Just advertise Manscaped. I'm not going to pay you.
That's all right. I'd like some freebies. Have they got anything that could shave your back? My back hair is a huge problem for me in my life.
Maybe I can talk to the guys.
Talk to the guys at Manscaped.
I'll talk to my dude and see if he can get you on anything. But yeah, I wonder if there is a sort of extent. How do you do it at the moment?
Well, exactly. I've got a beard trimmer.
Yeah.
And I take the guard off.
Okay. And then just go
like that, and then I need to keep checking in the mirror. So I go in the shower. It's an undignified.
Can one of your flatmates not help you?
I've considered asking Ollie a few times, and I think I'm just going to get into that.
My older brother has such a hairy back that in university once, for a cool fun thing to do, him and his flatmate shaved his name into his back, and you could see it visibly. Right. Are you that hairy in your back?
I've had an ex shave the first initial of her name into my back.
Yeah, what
not the full name.
What was her name? Like, did it begin with I? That'd be quite easy.
No.
What would be the hardest letter to shave? Do you think?
Probably some Chinese symbol that I'm not familiar with. But
well, yes, you do have a series of Chinese ex-girlfriends, so I imagine that was quite difficult. This is some of the electric banter that you can expect from this episode of Enjoy an Album. It's me and Stuart McPherson covering the National's first 2 pages of Frankenstein. I didn't ask you in the episode. Have you read Frankenstein?
You know what? I'm not sure. I've definitely written essays about Frankenstein at uni. I've probably read, no pun intended, the first 2 pages. Yeah, probably the last 2 pages.
The spark notes. There we go. We're on the same page. The first page. I read. They
introduce the themes. Any good book, they introduce the themes. Page 1, they pay them off at the end.
Yeah, any good book.
Middle 200 or 300.
I read the first 2 pages of Frankenstein in research for this. And
we never spoke about this on the podcast.
Yeah, I know.
It's quite interesting, really. It's what defeated his writer's block.
Yeah, it's really important element of the album. But hey, this wouldn't be an Enjoy an Album podcast if we didn't fucking talk about a bunch of stupid shit instead of the actual important stuff. Yeah. But it's a series of letters, Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. So it's a letter to the, I don't know.
Do you know, not a lot of people know this, but Frankenstein's not actually the name of the monster.
The 2 letters, the first 2 pages of Frankenstein is not actually the name of the National album. So the idea of this Frankenstein character is, I guess, it's a monster, and I wonder if that's if Matt is calling himself a monster in that sense.
He's a motherfucking monster.
Depression is the monster that you can't control. Writer's block is a monster. Yeah. Hard to know.
All that and more and less.
So anyway, it's a really great episode. Really glad to have Stuart in. It's a lot of fun. If you are a Patreon, you're going to get the episode right now. If you're not, you're going to get a stupid advert, and it's your own fault for not being a patron. Enjoy the episode, and we'll chat to you next time. Love you. Bye.
Enjoy. Thanks for having me.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. You know the deal by now. You've been listening to this podcast for a while. This is a product that you buy to shave your balls to keep them nice and clean for your lady or male friends.
I used the products.
Yes.
My genitals have never looked better.
They look fantastic. He's sending me pictures every day with different poses and different outfits.
Yeah.
Oh, but always balls on show.
Yeah.
And
so it's usually a 3-piece suit.
Yeah.
With my balls hanging out.
They look great. We highly recommend that you use it. Use the code ALBUM20 to get 20% off your orders. It's a good gift.
It's got anti-cut technology.
It actually does.
Yeah.
So that you don't hurt yourself when you're doing the stuff. It also has a little light.
You can genuinely sit with your eyes closed in the shower because it's waterproof as well, and you can just fucking go at it. I've done that.
Yeah.
I genuinely have.
I believe you. I've seen the evidence. The pictures you sent me.
Because I've tried like doing it with like just scissors or like grooming products that don't have anti-cut technology. And Jesus Christ, it looked like a Metallic album cover. It looked like a Slayer album cover. It's Rain and Blood, not with this.
It's not just a lawnmower. You also have the weed whacker for nose hair trimming.
Yeah. I had that. I thought, I was in a hotel recently and I thought I heard someone using a vibrator in the next room, and I was like, wow, they've been jacking off for ages, that sexual woman.
Yep.
And then it turned out it was just my weed whacker was turned on in my travel bag. And I was getting turned on by nothing. Again. Anyway, I mean, if you want to have that experience, Album 20 is the code.
Also, the most comfortable boxers that I've ever worn. I'm wearing them again right now. The Manscaped boxers. Is Christopher? Yes, he is. Manscaped, Album 20. Thanks very much, Manscaped, for continuing to sponsor the podcast. Thank you guys for continuing to use the code to support our alignment with Manscaped. And we hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
Manscaped.
You're listening to Enjoy an Album, the podcast where two comedians listen to some of the greatest albums of all time.
A year or so into the pandemic and 2 decades into a career spent fronting the National, Matt Berninger couldn't bear to write another song. I don't want to unpack myself, he tells Apple Music. I was burned out on introspection and self-analysis and making all these songs about complicated personal things. It was a mess. I didn't want to clean up in my mind, so I just avoided it. This is like an article instead of a blurb.
Yeah, was he speaking to Zane Lone at the time? When I first heard your writer's block.
Yes, here we go. I mean, if you're listening, you may be confused. Hey, Chris sounds different, but he's got the same Zane Lowe witty banter. We are joined by special guest host Stuart McPherson. Honk, honk, honk.
Hello.
Honk, honk. How you doing, Stu?
Very well, Liam. How are you?
Thank you so much for coming in. I'm really excited that you're here. Stu is a fantastic comedian and a co-host of the Some Laugh podcast, and sometimes model. Let's not lose sight of that. Did you know that? So you've signed the wall of the Glasgow stand. There's like a background. Bit.
I haven't. I signed it,
right?
But I signed it in a shit location where people's arses kept rubbing it off.
Oh, okay.
And Marilyn mentioned it, and I said, "You just sign it for me," which was obviously a horrendous mistake.
Right.
So I don't actually know what's written about me now in the stand.
So that's interesting because I saw that it was the day that your modelling pictures had been published. So that where you had signed it was brushing against people's arses.
Yeah.
It said Stuart McPherson, and I wrote in chalk under it the model ? But you've never seen it. I was hoping you would see that and think that people were slagging you, but it was just me doing a fun.
You know, it's just nice to have people talking about me one way or the other.
So Stuart's here. Christian MacArthur Boyd is away. I think we probably would have established this in the intro, so no point repeating ourselves.
Modelling?
Yes, he's modelling.
Modelling for the new Funko Pop range.
Yes, the new Los Campesinos Funko Pops. He's on top of that. So we've got our good friend Stuart McPherson in. You've co-hosted before on the Arctic Monkeys episode.
Just bailing on that blurb away. That was a non-blurb.
Was there no blurb on that?
No, we're halfway through the blurb right now.
Oh no, we're not going to talk about this blurb anymore.
It's a new album.
Yeah, you can't expect. That was an introductory paragraph to a article about the album, but it didn't start with details about the album. Anyway, when you came on before, you spoke about the Arctic Monkeys.
Yes.
And that episode remains the most listened to audio-only episode. That was pre-pivot to video. And I have to say, it's quite upsetting.
You weren't on that one.
Well, yes, the one episode I'm not on is the one people love the most.
Well, I think what we'll maybe learn today is that there's less people tuning in for me and more people tuning in for the Arctic Monkeys. They're very popular.
Well, so are the National a different way. So, yes, that non-blurb was shite, so we'll do our own blurb. The National have been a sad dad rock band for 20 plus years. The new album, the first 2 pages of Frankenstein, were written in a haze of depression and writer's block and potential sobriety, although unclear.
I think he was sober for a bit and then he's not sober now.
That's what I picked up on from what I've researched. I couldn't get confirmation.
It sounded like he was just trying loads of things to get out of this depression and nothing was working.
Yes, which is, I can identify with that.
We all can.
So we always start with what did you know about the National? You're a big. I mean, you've got your National T-shirt on.
I've gone full kit wanker.
Yeah.
Can you see it? This is a very old T-shirt. It's all ripped.
Is it the High Violet tour?
No, I reckon this was More Trouble Will Find Me.
Right. Okay.
But I've had it for over 10 years.
So you've been at least a fan of National for over 10 years, probably longer.
Yeah, I was actually quite late to the party though. Mm-hmm. I would say I got into them between High Violet and then Trouble Will Find Me, which is kind of late on because they'd already had, Alligator Boxer at that point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember the first time I heard them was my dad's pal Bunter gave me a hard drive with loads of music.
Bunter?
Bunter. Billy Bunter, friend of the show, good guy. Muso.
Bunter's big bass.
But it was too sophisticated for me at the time, this music. I was 17. You're listening to Oasis.
This is Arctic Monkeys.
Listen to Arctic Monkeys.
I'm going out on a Tuesday and I'm fucking a lot of birds and having a nice time. Stuff like that.
You're drinking Blue Wickeds. Absolutely. You're singing Live Forever because you want to live forever.
Saying that, having a shower is one of the most depressing things you can do.
Suddenly you're like, well, I'm not saying I want to die, but it would solve a lot of problems. And that's what this music is about, isn't it? So I sort of didn't get into them then, but then my best pal Ben, he's a big muso, and he put on a song called Driver Surprise Me, which is a sort of B-side off of Alligator, which is a very Ben move to throw on at a party, a B-side.
It was a party as well.
Well,
you can't be putting the National on at a party.
Yeah, I know. Especially the fucking B-side.
Yeah.
Christ. But I really liked that song, and then I just really got into them off of that, and then I've sort of loved them ever since.
You've seen them a few times as well, live?
Yes, I've seen them 3 times, I think.
You said to me just before the pod that this shirt you would not wear to a National gig.
I don't like wearing the band's merch at their gigs. It feels a bit, I don't know, lame.
A bit desperate.
Yeah.
You kind of like you're...
Where do you stand on that?
I would wear a different band's T-shirt to the gig.
I love seeing that when you'll be at you'll be at a Phoebe Bridgers gig where there'll be like an old guy in a Green Day shirt and you're like, what's your agenda, old man?
Well, you're kind of trying to show off to the other concert goers. Yeah, I like Phoebe Bridgers, but also like these other cool bands.
I contain multitudes. I like Green Day and Punisher.
Yeah, that doesn't really work. But, I get the intention. So I'll tell you when I first discovered the National, I was in, I don't want to say like a special class at school.
But it wasn't a normal class.
I was taking out of the normal class when I was like 14. And I was put in a place. It's called the LEC, so it's like the learning.
Can't wait to hear how the National feature in this story.
The Learning Education Centre I had to go to, and that was. I mean, you would make fun of kids who went to the LEC.
Yeah, I'm about to.
And then one day, that I got pulled out of registration and said, "Liam, you have to go to the LEC," and I'm like, "What? What?" And I'm sat down with, no offence, some dum-dums.
At this point in your academic career, how are you getting on in other classes? Are you struggling?
Well, here's the issue. I got sat down with my new LEC mentor, Mr. Evans. Shout out to a true king. And he explains to me that, look, you're in the dum-dum class now, but you're not a dum-dum. The reason you're in the dum-dum class is because you're acting like a dum-dum.
Right.
But see the lessons that you like, your English, your drama, you excel. You can write, you can read, you can do the homework. But everywhere else, you're getting these grades that a dum-dum will get. So now you have to be in the dum-dum class and learn how to learn. So this is how I met Mr. Evans, True King, and he taught me how to learn, taught me how to love. And no, he didn't. He and we would chat about music.
Okay.
He was in a band. He played guitar in a band. He had a big beard.
Cool.
I thought it was cool as fuck.
Yep.
And this is just when
He's a Six Music dad.
Hundo P is a Six Music dad. He's probably got this hat.
Who's that? Is it
This is Self-Esteem.
Self-Esteem? Yeah.
So for audio listeners, I'm wearing my Six
I was
Music
going to call
dad
it self-pleasure though. That's a real boomer thing. God.
And I was getting into indie music at the time, your block parties, etc., etc. And he went, "I'll tell you a good band." And they just probably dropped their first. Maybe it's the what's the sad
Boxer?
No. Prior to Boxer,
Sad Songs for Dirty Lovers.
Sad Songs for Dirty Lovers. I think they just dropped that. And I mean, I thought he was fucking cool, this guy. So I went home and I listened to it. And you put it perfectly. It was way too sophisticated for me. Even then, as in it was.
You were in the dum-dum class, so...
Well, absolutely. I mean, just two separate notes in a song would have been too sophisticated for me. I was still on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And so I listened to it once or twice on their MySpace page. So I get a little bit of kudos, I think, for listening to the National on their MySpace page. I mean, that's fucking early doors.
They're not playing the hydro then.
And but then I was like, listen, this shit's a bit too adult for me. I don't know what the fuck this is. So I never really got back into them until later than you're saying now. It would be Sleep Well Beast,
Really?
probably.
That surprises me that you might not have been on the train before then.
They were around, you know. I'd heard songs. I always liked what I'd heard, but I just never heard enough to take that leap into listening to their albums.
I'm like that with a lot of bands where I'm quite set in my ways as well.
Yeah.
Like you'll hear that and you like it, and then you'll get into them 10 years too late and be like, fucking hell, I could have been enjoying this the whole time.
Yeah, I really have to be convinced. I'm kind of like, I'm sure if it was that good, I'd listened to it already. The arrogance.
Yeah.
And then I listened to it and I'm like, oh, fucking idiot. So much good stuff I'm missing out on. You named your Fringe show Mr. November.
I did, 2019.
So that's how big a national head you are. Mm-hmm. You're Hundo P. Nashed.
I'm Hundo Nash pilled. I nearly called this new show after a national lyric as well. It was going to be called Hollywood Summer, which is from Conversation 16.
Well, it'd be a good motif. Who's it?
Hollywood Summer, you'd never believe the shitty thoughts I think.
Yeah, that's such a good... I've written that lyric down somewhere.
Brilliant.
You wouldn't believe the shitty thoughts I think, which is like, yeah, but you would believe it. That's the whole point of the band, I guess. That would have been a good motif to always name your band, your Fringe shows after national songs. But you are sort of tying yourself to a store bit there, and you know, who knows where they're going to go. I somewhat regret my Radiohead tattoo, for example.
Why? They're not problematic.
No, but the more I learn about them, the more lame I think they are. And that has happened a little bit this week with the National.
Well, the National are quite lame as well.
Yeah, in a way that is quite annoying. We'll get into that. So every week we do a little bit of delving into the backgrounds of that week's artiste.
Yeah, muckraking.
With a little bit of feature called Secret Posho. No Chris this week, so I'll be doing my best to do the jingle in his place.
I'll do the Phoebe Bridgers backing vocals.
Okay. Should I do it as Matt Burning? How do you say his
I would say
surname?
Berninger.
Burninger. Secret Posho, secret Posho. You do it fast and you do it like a nacho. You got money, you got dash, bro. Secret Posho.
It's beautiful. You just need a little piano line over that.
Did you feel that was close enough to Matt Burninger?
It's in the ballpark, yeah.
It sounded.
It actually was too upbeat for this album. I'd say.
Well, yeah, that's one of the issues.
You didn't sound asleep.
Sleep well, Matt. So his mum and dad are some sort of artists. I couldn't really find information online, but I watched a film that you recommended that his brother made that has interviews with his mum and dad, and his mum is in a studio with paintbrushes, and his dad is in a sort of workshop cutting shit up. So it could be hobbies, it could be a guess. I don't know what their jobs are, but I can tell you that Matt Berninger went to St. Xavier High School in Cincinnati, it has his own page of alumni, which is...
Who's on there?
You know what? It is a long list of blue names, but there were no names that I recognised. It was all businessmen.
Right.
Head of Xerox Communications and stuff that I've never heard of. And then there was a lot of American football players, which, but it is a private posh school. And you can tell they're a bit posh because as when he was growing up, Neil Armstrong was a family friend.
Yeah, I found that out this morning on the train. That blew my mind. But I think it was something to do, he was like, his uncle was his doctor or something like that. It's not like they were pals with all the astronauts.
No, but sure. But for your uncle to be Neil Armstrong's doctors, you know what I mean? That's not happening in certain parts of the world.
With respect to us, we're so far from Neil Armstrong.
I think we're closer than we think.
We're close to Neil McPherson.
Hey, big
Friend of the
Neil.
show.
Yes, in the production box. But have you ever been to space?
No.
No. Okay, worth a shot. Neil Armstrong taught Matt Berninger how to play pool.
Yeah, that's so fucking cool, isn't it?
It is.
Before he knew that he'd been to the moon.
That sounds like a national lyric. Being taught to play pool by the first man on the moon. He went to uni, and that is where he met the Devendorfs. So they're a band of brothers. There's the Dresners. Is it Dresners?
Aaron and Bryce Dresner
and
on
there's
guitar, and then there's Scott and Brian, who are the rhythm section, bass and drums.
Yes,
and then
and they're
Matt,
twins, are they?
Bryce and Aaron are twins. Brian and Scott aren't.
Yes.
Matt has a brother who made that documentary with him, but he's not in the band.
That documentary was fantastic.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
I
rewatched it last night.
I really didn't expect what it was.
It's not about the band. Like, you could not care about the national, and you could really enjoy that documentary.
It's about his brother, or about brothers in general, about sibling relationships.
Quite touching, I think.
So basically, they bring Matt's brother Tom along on tour to be a roadie, but as well to make a documentary about the band. And his brother is...
To be fair to the guy, he's a dipshit.
He's hysterical.
Yeah, he's really, really funny.
He's like this Homer Simpson type character. I kept thinking there's an episode of Simpson where Homer has a long lost brother or something.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same dynamic.
He's a schlubby version of
yeah.
Matt.
And he just keeps getting everything wrong.
and trying to blag it.
Yeah, and he's just so... like, obviously, the showbiz world, like every now and then you bring someone... You might have like a family member or something. And you've got to watch them interact with other showbiz people, and you go, "Oh God,
they're getting it wrong."
But he is ultimately totally getting wrong. He keeps getting pissed and fucking stuff.
Werner Herzog couldn't get into their gig because he'd fucked up the
my
the
favorite
guest
bit
so
of the whole of the whole film is him. He's lost the guest list, and he's going, "Well, who's out there?" He's like, "Well, Werner Herzog and the cast of Lost." They can't get in.
Matt's just looking at him like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I wanted to go and see the National as they were playing in my city, and I was told I would be put on the door, but unfortunately when I got there I was stuck with Jack from Lost, and so I missed the support act, and I couldn't buy any merch. I am... do you know what? That
was good. I enjoyed that.
Thanks very much. Yeah, that's my impression of Werner Herzog not being able to get into a national gig. I was worried that you might not know who Werner Herzog is. No offense, but you are no a dumb bitch
when it comes to movies.
When it comes to movies,
what's the script available on all good?
Is that coming back?
We keep saying it is, but we've not got time.
Okay, right. So
we hope so.
Maybe sometime. You're on an indefinite hiatus.
Yeah, which is what a lot of cool bands do, isn't it?
Yeah, that's cool.
Think of us as like a cool band.
So I'm pleasantly surprised you knew who Werner Herzog was enough for me to do a 2-minute impression of him. So that's a great bit. I've written some other great bits.
Mistaken for Strangers, it's called, the documentary, and heartily recommend it. So
it starts off as a documentary about the National. It ends up being a documentary about the two brothers' relationships, and kind of about Tom overcoming his own, let's say, goofiness to actually make a good film.
Yeah, and also just living in his brother's shadow.
There's a few bits that I actually teared up at. One is where he's talking about, he goes, "My brother is a rock star, and that fucking sucks." And you're like, you can imagine living in the shadow of your own brother like that, and he's a goof.
He's like a taller, handsome version as well. He looks very similar, but he's got a worse hairline. He's in worse shape.
Yeah,
he's nothing's coming off for him. He's trying to be creative and it's not working.
It's so funny when he shows the band one of the films he's made, and it's like this sort of weird alien slasher movie,
kind of, horror kind of.
Horrorcore, and it's just loads of, and the I think it's Aaron is watching it looking so confused.
Yeah.
The other bit I thought was really emotional is when he just looks at the camera, Tom, and he just says, "I just want to make something good," and I'm like, man. We're working on our fringe shows at the moment, and fuck, that hit hard.
Yeah, that hits different when it's May and a fringe year.
And I thought this is where I first sort of picked up on the drinking aspect of it as well. This record was made, somewhat sort of experimenting with sobriety, but I picked up on. So Tom is obviously a bit of a drinker and gets drunk, and he misses
Matt
the tour bus.
You got the allergy.
That's right. You got the allergy. Now the only
Which is kind of rich coming from him.
Well, this is what I think is interesting. So, in terms of referencing alcoholism as an allergy as something that I've heard a lot in like recovery circles, right? And that's how some people describe it. It's like you're allergic to alcohol, and your reaction to it is once you drink, you can't stop. So I have heard that before, but I found it interesting that Matt is basically drinking whenever he's accusing Tom of that. And I found that, maybe I'm talking a bit out of turn here, but I found that people who have uncomfortable relationships with their own, use of alcohol are often the first to sort of comment about other people's. Yeah, because it's a way of deflecting from them, but also going, well, I may drink a lot, but I'm not like him, and it's a way of making yourself feel better about it.
Because he can sort of hold it together a little more. And also he's a rock star, he's got permission. If he gets fucked up, does the show it like as part of like, it looks cool, it's part of like the rock lineage.
Yeah.
There's dipshit brothers, just the fucking roadies might be at work,
Yeah, he keeps getting stuff wrong because of it.
When he does it.
Yeah, so I found it interesting then to see that Matt had tried sobriety for a bit for this album. And whether or not that had a effect on the music coming out, because this album is a bit more. I mean, it's hard to say that a national record is more low key than another, but it is.
No, it is, because I think I don't know if you've read many reviews for this album.
A couple,
but they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah,
of like The Enemy gave it like 10 out of 10. I think Variety or something like that was like, it wasn't like rated, but it was like fucking scathing.
Yeah,
like I've seen everything.
Have you seen Fantano's review of it?
Yeah.
Where he just pretends to be asleep for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Which was quite funny, but also a bit dickish.
Yeah, kind of self-indulgent. Because he was never going to like it, because he's hated all the recent stuff they've done anyway. But anyway, like I think they've been accused of that, of like being like national by numbers on this record. Or I do think there's more of an element of truth to it now than there has been with their previous releases, of like they are kind of starting to fall into the trap now of being what people have unfairly in the past said they were. Mm-hmm. And I think it's down to like, well, the production is like so low key on a lot of these songs.
Yep.
And I think like, I always get them mixed up. I think it's Aaron that's been doing all the work with like Taylor Swift and everything.
Yep, Aaron Dresner produced Everlong.
Everlong by Foo Fighters was him.
I get confused because Brennan Reese had 3 shows
Wrench,
with the word ever in front of, so it's Everlong, Evermore, and then something else. And Everton. By Brennan Reese. No wonder they're fucking getting relegated. They've got a comedian.
Taylor Swift should get Sean Dyche in, but that's a separate point.
Get Sean Dyche in to the end of the season. Big Sam on decks.
His production ticks, I think, are getting a lot more kind of noticeable now.
Yep.
And like it's all going in this one direction. It's all very pretty and very layered, but low key and mellow. And like this album sounds a lot like the other stuff he was doing for Taylor Swift to me.
So do you think they're maybe a bit a victim of their own success then, in that the longer and more the stuff they create like this, the more people are like, well, that's just like the old thing,
Yeah, but it's got so... I just think, like High Violet had a certain sound, and then Trouble Find Me and Sleep Well Beast, and they were all interesting in their own ways. But this to me sounds too close to like the work that he was doing with Taylor Swift. Where it's like, oh, is this what it's going to be now forever? Where like, I don't know, it is all starting to remind me of stuff from the very recent past. Yep. Like there's a couple of songs on it, like the sort of twinkly piano on like Your Mind Is Not Your Friend, I think it is, where it's like, that kind of just sounds like Light Years or Exile Vilify. Like it's like, I don't know, it just feels like they've kind of done better versions of a lot of this already. It got
quite Bon Iver for me at points.
I never ever got into Bon Iver.
Well, I get that. Whenever someone says that to me, I'm like, yeah,
it shocks me that I'm not into Bon Iver, though. Do you know what I mean?
But there's kind of 2 Bon Ivers. There's falsetto Bon Iver, and then there's baritone Bon Iver, and I think they give off very different sounds. And this is a baritone Bon Iver album, especially the song with Taylor Swift. I mean, Bon Iver's done a couple with Taylor Swift.
I don't like that song at all.
It really sticks out. I mean, Phoebe Bridgers on a national album makes total sense, and she's Flavour of the Month as well. So I mean, almost feels a little bit cynical. Sufjan Stevens, same. The Taylor thing is like,
It sticks out. It's right in the middle of the album.
who's this for?
Yeah, I don't really know what their agenda is with it. Like, you like to think it's not cynical and they're just excited to have this new friend that they collaborate with, but
And I listened that Taylor album that Dresner produced. I think is good. I enjoyed listening to it at the time, and it was well received. But the vice versa, I saw somewhere in a review put it is this. It's the National Taylor's version, which the
because on the Phoebe ones and Sufjan Stevens, they're providing backing vocals essentially.
Yep.
Whereas that's like a duet. Like she's baked into that song.
Yeah. Their voices,
Arguably, they're lucky to have their names on it, apart from her. But I could do without it personally.
their voices don't really complement each other
really
that
don't.
well either. There's
It's like a dad and his daughter at like a wedding or something.
yes, and it feels like there's the chemistry there is really off.
Yeah.
Which you don't really notice until you listen to like when you listen to a good duet, you don't really. Well, I can't say I've noticed the vocal chemistry between two people that often before. But then when you listen to one that's off, you're like, oh, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it really takes me out of the album, I think.
Yeah. I kind of felt like it made me want to listen to Sleep Well Beast again. And I felt like if you're going to make an album like this, then Sleep Well Beast, it feels like that's what you're trying to make.
Yeah, did you like the I'm Easy to Find, the previous album?
I liked a couple songs
It's
on
kind
it.
of baggy, isn't it?
Yeah. That felt a bit bloated, and this feels like a sort of continuation of that.
It was interesting. Within I'm Easy to Find, they had 4 or 5 female backing singers throughout as a recurring motif throughout almost all the songs, and it felt like this really cohesive thing that I'm like you, I really like 4 or 5 of those songs, but then there's ones that are just really boring and do nothing for me.
Yeah.
But at least it was like it felt of a piece and it felt interesting.
Where
This feels like, I don't know, attempt at something that's not quite got the same.
yeah, and you wonder if maybe this was like, obviously having a year of writer's block that's a stressful situation. And I kind of wonder if when they started to get stuff out, if that affected the eventual, I haven't written anything in it. Like when we came back after not gigging for a year, your first gigs, if you watch them back now, you'd probably be like,
Rough.
I'm not going to put that out,
Yeah.
So I wonder if that is part of it as well. I've got some. So the sad dads thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, I'm wearing my BBC Six Music dad's hat. I am an unofficial sad dad. I'm sad.
You're a doggy dad.
I am a doggy dad for sure. And you're a dad doggy.
What does that mean?
I just mean like you're a bad dog.
Okay.
Listen, it doesn't need to make sense.
Not every ref needs to be watertight.
You are filling in for Chris quite well. I mean, you knew who Werner Herzog was. You're making me feel uncomfortable about the words that I say. It's good stuff. So I was speaking to David of Monkey Barrel, the big
David Blease, friend of the show.
the big dog,
The big dad doggy.
yes, the big doggy dad of Monkey Barrel. He's a huge national head, and when people say sad dads, I kind of feel like
Think of
it's
David.
well, I don't. It doesn't strike me as particularly
More of a
sad man.
disgruntled dad, David.
But that over of dude, it's like the big national fans. You sort of, I used to call them park run dads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. They go cycling with Lycra on.
Absolutely, in like a group on a Sunday morning, and then they all go to like some sort of. They go to
Bishop Finger. Was that beer? Bishop's Finger or something? In the
yeah,
pub? Real ale.
What's what's that German beer that's got a running club? Anyway, that sort of thing. There is definitely a vibe to the fandom of the national, and then themselves.
It's more the having been to loads of the gigs, and I know loads of girls that like the national though.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as like that is like a trope, but I think it's more because the actual band look like that. Whereas I'd say the fan base is more eclectic than you might give them credit.
Yeah, okay, but as you say, the national definitely themselves. I get it though, because it is like this. I mean, it's just ennui, isn't it? It's just this frustrated at being alive music.
Yeah.
And it really, it feels the longer they make music, the less bangers you get.
Yeah, this is probably my main criticism of this. By the way, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I don't dislike this album as much as it sounds like we're just quoting it off now. I just have nuanced kind of complicated feelings about it. But the lyricism in this one is so much more direct than in the past, and I think all the best stuff is like, like it's rich with metaphors and like fun turns of phrase, and like even though they were for a long time they were called sad boy music or whatever, like so much they did have funny lyrics and like witty lyrics that would take you out of it, and like playful. There's just there's a lack of playfulness with this record that really bogs it down, I think.
They are sort of unapologetically poetic in all their lyrics, and yeah, this one is not. It does miss that sort of. Yeah, it's sad, but being sad is sometimes funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
life is a fucking nightmare, but it's also funny, and you know what I mean. There's more to it than it's like that Hans Moleman in The Simpsons was like, "What's that you want?" He's like, "Give me the biggest seabell you can get." No, that's too big. That's why I'm like with this. Like, give me the saddest music. No, this is too sad. Actually, I'd like a few gags in.
See, I mean, I haven't ever seen someone on Pitchfork compare a record to a Hans Moleman philosophy. So eat shit, you guys.
The fuck do they know?
So I was looking back at some old national tracks that I loved that I've found over the years. I mean, it was only really Sleep or Beast that I got into them, but since then, there's loads of their older songs that I've liked and remembered, including Blood Buzz Ohio,
banger,
one of their absolute bangers, I think. That's one of the ones.
Ohio and a swarm of bees. What's not to like about that?
And that's where I found this week's YouTube comment of the week.
Lovely. I tried to look. I found it quite hard to get deranged comments for the National. It's all just people who've been like, my wife left me and my brother died and I was going to kill myself. But then I didn't because of this song.
That's all YouTube comments.
Yeah.
There is not a band that I've not found that thing for. Some have them more than other. The National, there was a lot of, my father left when I was 11 years old and now I live in a basement and this is the only song I've heard ever. But this is from Run for Fun 12, which I didn't pick up on, but Park Run Dad 10 years ago said, I just had a dream where I was singing this song out loud and Win Butler started walking with me and singing. We went to a public bathroom, like at a football game, and he screamed, I still owe money to the money I owe, while accidentally walking into the woman's bathroom, full of people staring at him. And that's it. So that's good stuff. Win Butler.
Years later, Win Butler was kind of outed as a bit of a creep. So
absolutely,
maybe
Win
that
Butler
guy knew something that.
I mean, he foresaw. I love the example there of it was a public bathroom, like at a football game.
Yeah.
When I'm trying to describe public bathrooms, football games is my immediate shot as well. It's difficult finding YouTube comments.
I took a couple of screenshots, but they're not amazing.
Well, that's okay.
What we got.
Let's hear them.
This just made me laugh. This isn't deranged. This is one of the new ones that someone didn't like. It's amazing that out of all of these band members, everyone thought this song was a good idea.
That's very cutting. Do you know which song that was about?
I think it was Eucalyptus.
Okay, right.
Which I do like. Mm-hmm. Here's one that I just thought was funny. This is from Carrot on the Run 6412. On the run again. National fans are running from something. The dark thoughts. I'm a pro drummer. Personally, whoever this dude is, my personal top 15 ever. Nothing necessarily difficult, just absolutely brilliant this entire album. I put it in the Paul Cook category on Bullocks. Every beat was perfection to each song. I cannot do that. Through one tune. Sort of like, of course Malstein could outplay Page. Who you rather listen to though?
Wow.
That is like real wanker at a party cornering you.
I'm actually a pro drummer. And I know how to drum. And that guy, he knows how to drum. Yeah, the thing is though, there's a lot of
drum. You can smell the BO off that comment.
There's a lot of drum machine on the album though, from the sound of it.
Yeah, I'm guessing that was from a previous record, maybe.
Right. Okay. I was just wondering if this actual drummer had just complemented an electronic drum machine. That's one thing about the album that sticks out as well. Is just this use of drum machine when they've got. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like there's a electronic drum beat over a lot of these songs.
So the electronic thing sort of came in with Sleep Well Beast. There was quite a lot of electronic drums on that.
Yeah.
I just think Brian, he's a brilliant drummer. Top 15 for me. I mean, Malstein, whoever the fuck that is good, but, whatever. But But I've seen him compared to like he's very precise as a drummer, and like I think sometimes when he plays, it sounds like an electronic drum set. And it's not, but I think because I think I've not really listened to it, but he does music of his own name as well, and I think he's really interested in electronics and stuff. So sometimes people are like, why do they not let fucking Brian rock out as if he's not making the choices? Do you know what I mean? I think it's a mix on this album.
You get different types of drummers, don't you? You get the wild guys, and then you get the math rock dudes. I think he's more of a math rock precise.
Yeah, he's more of a fringe act than a club drummer.
No, it'd be the other way around.
But I
right?
do agree that like I'd like to hear like I know they're like 50 now or whatever, but like, you can still rock out. Like it's never going to be pure cock rock again, but
They are older than I thought. Actually,
get a bit of pussy into it, lads. Come on, for once.
That's all we ever want, boys. It's just a bit more puss. They started. I mean, I guess this is the sad dad things. They did start late. The National didn't start until they were in their 30s. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
As a man who's 33, to think I could still start a band.
Yeah. Should we start a band?
Okay. Yeah.
We've got one musician between me, you, and Neil.
Yeah.
Neil's a multi-instrumentalist. So
You're doing everything, bro.
you can sing as Werner Herzog.
Yeah. We're called Herzog at the merch stand. As though you have that in a large. I could wear an extra large, but it might be too baggy. That's the sort of thing he might say.
I think that's kind of fundamental to their like lasting appeal, is because they sort of they're in that meet me in the bathroom era kind of New York scene, but they weren't cool. Like,
well, they would have been a bit older than the other guys.
So everyone else
as well.
is like coked up rich 20-year-olds.
Yeah,
they're like 30. They're all like graphic designers, or they work in advertising and stuff. They've got quite white collar jobs.
I guess maybe that's why it appeals to this sort of punk run dad as well, is because that is what they are.
That's what they're like. Yeah,
yeah, that's
15
the sort of thing
blue
they do.
shirts and womanly hands. You're climbing up the ladder.
Yes.
So they were never cool, which sort of means they're never truly uncool, I think.
Yeah, that's a timeless cool, isn't it? The sort of nerd. They're not nerds, but like it's true of nerd rock as well. In that, your leather jackets and your big hair that comes and goes. It always comes back, but the only constant is just wearing a suit and being a bit weird.
Yeah,
which his stage presence has changed massively over the years. You watch early stuff, and
pretty awkward.
They look much more uncomfortable. And now it feels like he's really leaned into this, wild man screaming that may also be alcoholism.
Yeah, well, I think he's come out the other end of that though, because in that documentary, Mistaken for Strangers, that's around that era where like if you play Mr. November and you like go through the whole audience and he's going to shit and he's smashing wine bottles, and whereas I'm going to see them at the Hydro in September, and I fear they might bore the arse off me.
It'd be.
I feel like they've tunneled through that now to just playing the songs again.
It'd be terrible to be bored at the Hydra.
I know.
It seems like such a waste.
Bored. Did you see them at Connect Festival?
No, Connect is the music festival that happens during the Edinburgh Fringe.
On the last night of the Fringe.
And my show was clashed. I clashed with the National. The Clashnal.
Clashed with the Nash.
And
well done it.
You were at like 3 o'clock or something, so I think you go after.
Yeah.
And how was it?
It was good, but there wasn't any of that. He wasn't like going mental and going through the audience and stuff. Although in the promotion for this new record, they were talking about how, I think they were touring, so when that gig was, I think it was kind of like big Depression Writers Block vibes around that time. I think they were.
Oh, that would time up perfectly with this. Yeah, you saw Matt during this period.
Yeah, and it was like a passable show. It was perfectly fine, but I've not really got any lasting memories from it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw them at the Usher Hall, which was a perfect. That was. I felt like
good.
I love. I mean, it's a really beautiful venue. I've seen some amazing gigs.
Lovely
in there.
venue for their music as well.
Yeah, it really matched the. That was the atmosphere was just about right, and the gig was brilliant. Mr. November is obviously you named your Fringe show after that. Did you know that song was about John Kerry?
Yeah, I've always tried to be the John Kerry of Scottish comedy.
Again, and this is sort of the thing that's disappointing about them, that they are just like, they're just like centrist lib dads. They did the song for
Obama's.
they played this. They met Obama and they supported John Kerry. They backed Hillary Clinton, and then they kind of went a bit quiet about it.
Do you want them to be Trump guys? Is that what you want, bro?
Yes, I
Make
do want
music
that.
Six Dad again.
But yeah, not all riffs are watertight. That's all I can say. I mean, look, they're just not. They're nice enough dudes and whatever. Most people are libs, so you can't hate people for that. But I will. I will choose to. What else have I got written on my talking points? Oh, I guess now would be a good time to do this. Apologies in advance for me misremembering lyrics here. With two guys reviewing tattoos, we're gonna Google image search and then we'll choose if it's tattoo woohoo or tattoo boohoo. We're judging the ink, yeah, that's what we'll do. And have full sleeves or face tat, something or wing back. Chick design is a battle just fine. Pretentious or dull, a dragon or skull. Got the wrong way around. You can decide something that is it. Tattoo woohoo or tattoo boohoo hoo hoo. Yeah. Hey,
Lovely effort.
You know what really I enjoyed about that was there was two bits I got wrong, and I felt Christopher wincing listening to it. He's going to listen back to this and he'll get really annoyed. And
Pretend it was a choice, because Matt Berninger often gets lyrics wrong as well.
Yeah, okay. It was a tribute.
Pretend you've relapsed.
Why pretend? Get the whiskey. Christopher, you missed one episode and I relapsed.
Hit the bottle.
So we have Matt's tattoo here.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of this.
So it's a tattoo under his nipple that says, or is it above his nipple? Where is his nipple in this picture?
If it's like a spot the ball, I'm saying there.
Nick, can we get a picture of Matt's nipples? No, it's a joke. So it's actually in a very similar style to my chest tattoo. It's the same sort of font
I
writing.
don't know about that one either.
This one, this says Kemosabe. I got it when I was on MDMA in Thailand. And Matt may have done something similar here. It says Martha Jane. So the Martha of the Martha Jane tattoo is Martha from the Tom Waits song, Martha. And the Jane from Martha Jane is from it's the Jane from Famous Blue Raincoat by Leonard Cohen. So I listened to both those songs earlier. Martha, you can definitely, it sounds like a national song, and you can
Well,
see
they're two of his big inspirations, those two.
Yeah. So what do you think of this, Stuart? Is this a tattoo woohoo or a tattoo boohoo from Yoo-hoo?
Gun to the head, I would say boohoo.
Yeah, it's kind of lame, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like the idea, and the idea of getting two different names from two of your favourite artists' favourite songs and squishing them together. That's cool. But the actual execution, the font and the placement below the nip, according to your nipple spotting skills, for me...
Which is second to none, by the way.
That's why you're here. When Chris said he couldn't make it, I said, I know which nipple spotting freak I want to come in and fill in. So that's going to be a boohoo for me as well. That's the only tat that
they're not cool enough for tats, was my thinking.
Well, exactly. This kind of speaks to the sort of dadness of the band, that when they were, doing the New York scene, all the kids getting tattoos were in their early 20s or whatever, and these guys are in their 30s. They're kind of past all that.
The National at the back of the CBGB's going, you'll regret it when you're older.
You've got that forever, don't you? So that's the only tattoo we've got. However, as a guest, we do a live tattoo woohoo, tattoo boohoo of Yoo-hoo too.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, we shared Crystal's wonderful cherry tattoo. And who else is... I think we spoke about Mary Lane didn't have tattoos. Anyway, you do have some tattoos. Normally it's me and Chris to discuss them. So this is just going to be me telling you what I think of your tattoos, which seems a bit weird.
Well, the funny thing about this to me is I remember I got them both during the Fringe last year.
Yes.
And I saw you both that day and asked you both individually. And, we can all change our minds or whatever. But at the time... You called one of them a woohoo, one of them a boohoo.
Did I really?
As did Chris, but it was the other way around.
Okay, well, don't tell me
which the podcast works.
Yeah, exactly. So don't tell me which ones I woohooed and which ones I boohooed.
Show the camera.
Yes. So this.
I've somehow got sunburnt, by the way.
Well,
it's 13 degrees.
Yeah. But being Scottish, that could be from a fridge.
I would have
light or something.
moisturised if I remembered that this was a feature.
I have some moisturiser on my back. So your first tattoo is a sort of line drawing tattoo. It says R. McP on a ring. If I'm correct, remembering this is your grandfather's ring.
Yes, inherited my granddad's ring and lost it in like 3 months because I'm a dipshit.
Yeah, okay.
So I got it tattooed on me. A lot of people think it looks like a dog bowl, which is also fine.
Yes, it does actually. Now
he was a dirty doggy, my granddad as well. I'm from a long line of them.
Dirty dog. You dog. That's the thing, isn't it? People say he's a dog. Yeah, that's what I meant when I said that. I just didn't say it at the time because I wasn't thinking. So I think I would have woohooed this. I can't imagine me boohooing your dead grandfather's ring. That doesn't seem very on brand for me.
Chris would if he was here for a bit.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
he's not here, so fuck him.
Yeah, fuck that guy. So that would have
on
worked.
the
And the other
back-
one is porridge.
Of my arm, I've got a bowl of porridge.
Did I boo-hoo the porridge?
I can't remember now.
Oh,
I think you were like, that's class.
Yeah.
And I think Chris was like, I wouldn't have got that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I showed Chris a tattoo idea for myself recently that I'm getting done, and he just went, no. You know, so
He's got some shiters as
he's
well.
just he's just that sort of guy. Listen,
What is your idea?
Oh, I have to show you. It's an artist who's like, it's this big abstract pieces that I can't really describe. So I'll have to show you what I'm getting done. But I mean, the listeners will, and viewers will have to wait until it's actually done, which it will be by the end of July, I think. Big fan of the porridge. First off, I think it's cool to get a food tattooed. I've got a pizza
We've all
tattoo.
got 'em, yeah.
But secondly, I've recently been porridge peeled, and oh my God, what a game changer.
I can't eat porridge.
Oh, so that is weird that you have a porridge tattoo, you can't eat it.
Yeah.
Why do you have a porridge tattoo then?
Well, it's kind of sentimental. It's about my gran and stuff. I can't
right.
really be bothered getting into it. But I also just thought it looked cool.
And this is the thing as well about if you get a sentimental tattoo is that people ask you, why have you got that? And then
I was naive when I got my tattoos. It didn't occur to me that you're going to spend the rest of your life fucking telling people.
having to explain
Very
it.
boring.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, pizza tattoo is pretty self-explanatory. I like
It's
pizza.
class, yeah.
I remember when I was getting vaccinated. Sorry
Not
for
for
all,
me. Not
sorry
for
for all the anti-vax fans. I've just disappointed. But when I was getting vaccinated, I rolled up my arm and the needle was going into the pizza tattoo, and the nurse went, "Well, why have you got a pizza tattoo?" And I said, "I like pizza," and she went, "Oh." And that was the end of our whole conversation. And I came away going, I don't know if she vaccinated me or not.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't deserve saving.
I thought she was going to do a bit like cheese injection or something. A little bit of fun.
You should be a nurse.
I'd love to be a nurse.
Great bedside
In
manner.
a much more real way, I'd hate to be a nurse.
Cheese injection.
Respect to the nurses out there.
So let's have a quick run through of some of the tracks on this album, and if there's anything like stand out in particular that we want to talk about.
We've not really mentioned anything we like yet. Do you like any of it?
Yeah, I do. There are songs that I like on it. I like your song Eucalyptus, which someone else said was dreadful. It's a sort of to and fro. It's sang just by Matt, but it's a sort of to and fro between a couple taking stuff out of an apartment after they've broken up. So they go, well, what about the coffee maker?
Yeah.
Well, what about the picture over there? And they say at one point, what about the Afghan Wigs? Which is a reference to the band, the Afghan Wigs, the drummer of which taught the drummer of the National how to play drums.
Is that right? And has he been to the moon?
I don't know if he's been to the moon or not. But yeah, I like that song. It's that's
They're
been
always referencing other bands and
Yeah.
albums and stuff.
Well,
It's like more and more.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
You don't like it?
Yeah, it's cool, I suppose. I don't know. I feel like I've heard it. Do you know what I mean? He's done it so many times now.
Okay, yeah. It's like, you know, there are loads of authors who sort of drop little literary references into older works, and I think it's like for me, I'm the sort of person who, if I had never heard of the Afghan Wigs, would then go and seek out the music. But I always found bands by finding out who the bands I liked,
Yeah,
favourite bands
me too.
were. So that's how I got into like the Smiths as a young man and Joy Division, and further back to the Velvet Underground. And recently, I mean, I remember sending you Scott Walker stuff because it's Arctic Monkeys, and you know, I think it's a great way to find some. So when I hear them say, well, "What about the Afghan Wigs?"
My dad bought me an Afghan Wigs record.
Really?
So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Super cool points right there.
I was also going to say, to me, I think the National are like the Smiths for millennials.
Wow, that's a burning hot take.
is it?
That's hot for me. Wow.
Because the
That's so hot. My eyes have just melted. My brain is melting out of my ears right now and forming a sort of small
Really? Do you not
brain
agree with
puddle. And I'm not saying I disagree with it. I'm just saying it's a
Alright,
fucking
fine.
smoking hot take. The National are the Smiths for millennials. I mean, where they hit the right notes is, or for that take, is they are a sad band, sure.
But I think they're sometimes unfairly pigeonholed as a sad band when they've actually got a lot of funny, witty lyrics, a la the Smiths.
Sure, yeah, and so in that respect, yes, but
They're also hugely popular.
they are very, yeah, but I mean, loads of things are popular. Panini stickers are popular. They're not like the Smiths.
I've got
them. Well, maybe they are like the Smiths. But I don't know. They haven't got quite the enough bangers all in all, you know, to
But I
reach
think that's
that.
more about where music is at now, though. Whereas like the Smiths would get in the charts with singles and stuff, whereas like that doesn't happen to rock bands.
Well, so my hot take would be, if you're looking for a millennial Smiths, you're better off hitting the Arctic Monkeys. Closer to that in that regard. They're not as sad. But then, Space Hotel album is pretty sad.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the Arctic Monkeys are sad enough.
I think the Smiths are the Smiths.
Okay, fine. So we can't compare anyone to the Smiths.
No, thank you.
Because you agree with everything Morrissey says to this day.
Yes, including
all issues.
Including the very racist stuff he says. They're my favourite bits.
But he says it so poetically.
The thing with Morrissey is, if I can just slightly deviate, I know that's not really part of this podcast, is when I was speaking to someone about this Morrissey last night, and see when Woody Allen got like mega cancelled, and people having that discussion, like, can you still watch Woody Allen movies? And I just don't watch the films. What if you've seen them?
That John Mulaney joke from the Spirit Awards hosted by Nick Kroll, and they're talking about that, and he's like, can we still enjoy it? What about Woody Allen's last 20 unwatchable movies? Yeah. Can we still not watch them?
But I always found it very easy. I'd never really watched any Woody Allen movies. So I'm like, whatever.
I fucking hated Woody Allen anyway.
Yeah. I'd never really got into him. So it's easy for me to not listen to him. Yeah. Little dweebs like Christopher McCarthy Boyd.
Specky dweebs like
and then when Morrissey started being racist, I was like, we have to separate the art from the artist, because I like dancing to this charming man.
Yeah, the songs are so good.
I haven't. The way you get around it, the way I've noticed people get around it is that I actually listen for Johnny Marr.
It's actually the jangly guitar.
I'm more of a Johnny Marr man myself, and he goes, "Shut the fuck up."
I've seen Johnny Marr live, and he's great. I'm a fan. He's not the Smiths.
Yeah.
And
neither.
A picture with Jack Grealish the other day, though, on Instagram. I saw.
Oh, really?
Morrissey's not. Old
Thunder Thighs himself. I like the song New Order T-shirt. Again, that's reference to a band.
Love that song.
Yes.
And I don't know if you find this with their music, and I think it comes back to being kind of nuanced and sophisticated, but they always grow on me, and it's rare now where it's like that's a banger straight away. I didn't care for that song at all when I first heard it, New Order T-shirt, but now I love it. It's one of the highlights.
Actually, co-host Christopher McCarthy Boyd did tweet a very funny picture of Hideo Kojima in a New Order T-shirt, where he said, "This is what the Nationals New Order T-shirt is about." Hideo Kojima. Do you know who Hideo Kojima is? He was the director of Metal Gear Solid franchise.
Guy. Yeah.
And he tweeted a picture of himself wearing a New Order shirt, and the New Order had like the sort of LGBT plus rainbow flag, and then under it he had clarified, "This does have a rainbow flag, but I am not gay." and yeah, Chris is doing a funny music joke, which I thought we should share on the pod, considering that is its MO. So I like that song, and the only thing that I like about the Taylor song was
when it ends. Is good.
There's one or two lyrics I liked it when she sings "Teach Me How to Forget You," and that
I think it's too vague. It's almost like a boy band song where where it's like you project yourself onto this. There's like nothing to cling to in that song. I don't think. It's like,
yeah. But it did feel out of place. Despite that, I mean, I've written in capital letters "Why?" ? And Tropic Morning News is one of the songs that's getting a lot of play.
I love that one.
I do like it, but I do just get. I mean, it feels like every album from like a aging rock band now has a song about scrolling the internet or Twitter, or
it's about your friend and mine, men's mental health. We've all got it.
Well, we're a men's mental health podcast.
Got men's mental health.
We're sponsored by men's mental health. And listen, hey,
it's like the catchiest one, though, I think, right?
Yeah, look, it's a good song. It's just the subject matter already feels a bit pastiche.
It's a hard thing to write about in a non-cringe way, the internet.
Yes, but apparently it was the first song that they wrote that not brought him out of, but post writer's block and depression. This was the first thing that he wrote with his wife, who was the fiction editor of the New Yorker,
Karen Besser, who's been a collaborator for a while, but I'm never quite sure to what degree. Like, is it a bit like when your girlfriend says something stupid and you're like, can I have that?
I wouldn't possibly know what you're referring to. No, but genuinely, my wife has helped with fringe shows before. Like, she watches my previews and provides feedback from. I mean, that's something that I obviously do with you and one or two other people as well. And so I understand if it's a bit grey like that, I wouldn't exactly call my wife a collaborator, but she has certainly watched stuff before and gone, oh, this made sense or this didn't, or maybe this order, or given me callbacks. So I can imagine if you are in a relationship with someone creative who is a writer, then getting the occasional lyric from them would make sense. And then if you do list them as a collaborator, they'll probably get paid.
She's been listed a few times as a collaborator, and he's got loads of songs about her, Karen, and he spells it different ways and stuff to try and hide it. But Karen at the liquor store and Karen off of Alligator.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't have a girlfriend, so I go on first dates and I show them Fringe previews and I try and get some notes. Gotta get something out of this.
Right, we're going to go bowling, and then we're going to go back to mine. I'm going to open my MacBook. You're going to watch this. It was filmed on my Pixel, so the audio is quite bad, but you'll get the
new
idea.
Bit about alarm clocks just isn't hitting the way I want.
You know that when you watch a movie with someone and you've watched the film and they haven't, and you're sort of half watching them and you can see their reaction. Yeah, it's way, way better when it's a Fringe preview.
Yeah, I've got my wardrobe is like all mirrors, and I have been in situations where I'm watching something with someone and I'm just watching them watch it in the mirror to make sure they're laughing at all the right points.
It's terrible when they start looking at their phone at a part that is like thematically important.
Yeah, and you're like, fucking missing it.
You
And
gotta
then
pay
you're gonna
attention.
say it's shit,
And then,
but
like, it's boring. But hang on. I feel like I'm having a conversation with someone who hasn't got a podcast about how they know nothing about films. So I feel like...
I'm showing them like YouTube videos though.
Okay, thank you.
Funny YouTube videos.
Man falls
We're
in
going
pond.
through the favourites.
He's fallen in the pond and you've missed it.
You've got him on dry land. What use is that time?
Right, we're wrapping things up. Did you enjoy an album?
Yeah, but it's complicated. Like I like it, but I agree with a lot of the detractors and the poor reviews. Like I do think fundamentally I like it, but there's no real songs on this, barring maybe Tropic Morning News, that would displace any of my top even like 40 national songs. Probably.
Wow, okay, that's a lot.
And like I just feel like they've done better versions of like this. If the slow one isn't as good as Pink Rabbits and the opener isn't as good as Nobody Else Will Be There, and the fast one isn't as good as Blood Buzz Ohio. Or it's just I'm glad that they're back, and I hope that they'll continue to put out more great albums. But like they are old men now, and maybe they're going to become a legacy band, and you've just got to stick with what you've got, kind of thing.
Yeah, interesting. So do you kind of, I mean, we did Metallica the other week, Christopher's all-time fave band, and he went and bought the record on release day, despite having heard of it and it not being him not really loving the album. Is that where you are kind of, did you buy the record?
No, I was gonna, and then I thought better of it. I thought I can spend 25 quid in a better way than this mid-album.
Wow, okay. Yeah, so but you are going to see them regardless still, but then they'll still play the hits.
They could probably disappoint me another 10 times in a row live and I'll still go.
How bad would an album have to be before you stopped, before you didn't listen on release day, I guess?
Pretty bad. These are like one of my top, like I love these guys.
And I would say that this album, whilst it doesn't hit the heights of other national albums, they're pretty high heights.
Yeah.
This would be a lot of bands' best record still.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they're almost like you said earlier, like victims of their own success in a way. Where as I was listening on the train here, I was like giving the song scores, just I don't know, to help me think about it, and they're actually quite high. Do you know what I mean? I think it's front loaded. There's not much on the second half that really grabs me. I think the last song is shit.
Yep.
See, when I listened to this first time, I was cooking, and then I wasn't paying much attention, and then a song came on, I was like, here we go, this is fucking great. And then I looked and it was Spotify Radio, and it moved on to it was Interpol.
Rosemary. The duets feel a bit forced, or not even duets, backing vocals, guest appearances. I don't really know why they're there. The only one that kind of makes sense to me is Phoebe Bridgers, just thematically in her own music. Sufjan Stevens, I also do kind of get in that sense, but he's not there for long enough for it to be really doing anything. The Taylor one sticks out as a particularly bad moment in the Nationals' history. The overall album, it just is lacking that hook. Yeah. And I don't just mean a hook in terms of like a banger, something that you sing along to, but what is this album about? What's it for? Why is it being made other than, I've got out of writer's block?
Yeah,
okay.
That's how it feels.
Well, maybe you should go back there. No, don't do that because you were depressed. So listen, I enjoyed listening to the album in that I always really enjoy listening to The National. but I won't rush to be. I mean, I probably will still listen to a few songs in this album, actually, but as I say, it won't be interrupting my other top 20 like national songs or anything. There's way more songs I would listen to before this. Even some of the slow, sad ones. I need my girl.
That's great. But
Love
you know,
that.
in that song, even, you know, there's a lyric about, you know, when you lost your shit and you drove your car into the garden and you got out and apologized to the vines and no one saw you. Like, where's that? To quote Alan Partridge, where's that guy gone? Do you know what I mean? That's what we want. That's great. That's nowhere on this album.
Yeah, that's a funny lyric as well because it's so evocative of like just a silly, stupid, drunken argument of some sort, and you immediately hear it and you are placed in a world where something like that is happening, and there isn't anything like that here that's like fun to think about.
There's nothing fun about this album really, which is the problem. It feels like it's served a purpose for them. They're at the right block, they're back on the road, they're a functioning band again, but like, it felt a little bit like homework in places to listen to this week.
And that is the real benefit of this podcast, in that it turns music you love into work.
A tireless slog.
Absolutely. Last 2 years of discovering music for me has been a waking nightmare. So every week we put on 2 songs from the playlist onto the Evergreen Enjoy an Album playlist, and we also put on 2 songs inspired by our conversations about that. So which song from this album would you like to put on the playlist, Stuart?
I'll choose Tropic Morning News.
Fair enough.
It's my favourite song on the album.
That makes sense. I would put on New Order T-shirt. I would have put on Eucalyptus, but I think New Order T-shirt is just a bit more interesting
Yeah.
than that.
I just want to tip my cap to, maybe I've already said this. There's 2 songs on this album that are just listing shit he doesn't need in his flat.
Yeah.
That's fucking unacceptable.
And he has recently moved as well, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe that's
Get it together, man. It's just got like first Fringe preview vibes, this album, doesn't it? Stuff that won't end up being in the show.
the weird bits, like the guests and everything. That's like multimedia or stuff that eventually gets cut because it's too much fucking hassle. Taylor Swift is the projector.
The tech that doesn't work during the middle of the show that you got to win them back.
And which second song, maybe something we've mentioned throughout or not? It's up to you. Would you like to put on?
Who have we spoke about? New Order, The Smiths.
Yes,
everyone that guessed.
Or I mean, it can be any national song, anything produced by the Dresners, anything remotely related. I mean, if you're Christopher, it just has to be a general vibe. Yeah, a song that has a word that you've heard once.
We didn't speak about this, but are you familiar with LV, his side project?
Familiar. I haven't heard any of the stuff, but I'm aware of it.
I like that. My sister got me that record from Vertin. I like it. It's kind of like, I hadn't really bothered with it at the time, but it's fun. And it sounds like him having fun, which is really nice to listen to, having heard him not having fun.
So this is Matt Berninger's solo project?
He's with another guy. I can't remember the other guy's name.
Right,
LV.
okay.
And they had an album called Return to the Moon, I think it's called. Whether that's about Neil Armstrong or not, I don't know.
Or the Arctic Monkeys.
Could be. So I'm either going to choose that, or I might choose my favourite New Order song.
Which is?
Age of Consent.
So which one are you going to choose?
I'll choose... I forgot what the LV song's called that I always enjoy. So I'll just go with New Order.
There you
Age
go. Problem solved. That's good. 2 good choices. I'm going to choose a song by Complete Mountain Almanac. Have you heard of these guys?
No.
So the
Need a Friend. That's what the song's called.
So which one are you going with?
Age of Consent. By New Order.
So the Davendorfs have a third sister. Oh no, I've got that wrong. Sorry, it's the Desners. So they're 2 brothers, and they have a sister who is a folk musician. And the 3 of them, with another set of brothers, made a folk album earlier this year called Complete Mountain Almanac. And each song is named after a month of the year, and it is a very soft, gentle sort of, maybe you could say early falls-ish without the
They were playing last night, Foles.
Yes, everything was happening in Glasgow last night. And they've got the album's good, it's nice, and the first song's called February, and it's really nice. So
No January?
Sorry, not the first song. The song that I've chosen, the best song.
I reckon the second song was called February. We're all different.
Is it done in that order? Yes, it is. So that's Complete Mountain Almanac. February is my choice. That brings us to the end of the episode. Stuart,
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for coming and co-hosting. You've been fantastic.
Thank you so much. It's nice to get to talk shit.
One day we hopefully, all three of us will get into the studio at one time. But we're very happy to have you as the emergency co-host extraordinaire.
Thank you.
And we might as well. Well, I say we might as well plug your stuff whilst you're here. So, as I mentioned earlier, co-host of the Some Laugh Pod. If you, I imagine, if you're watching this, you're aware of the Some Laugh podcast. If you're not, go check it out.
Living under a bloody rock.
What are you doing, you fucking fool? But also, your fringe show is on sale at Monkey Barrel directly before mine.
Yes, come see the two of us back
You
to
can
back.
do
baby.
the fucking Cool Boys double, the Sad Boys double. Stuart is.
Maybe I'll come in, be your Taylor Swift in the middle. Let's do.
Yes, please do.
I'll do the worst part of your hour.
Well, we have, in a respect, sort of replicated the Swift-Dresner
We're
relationship.
collaborating.
Absolutely. We're sort of helping direct each other's shows somewhat.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's too much behind the curtain to reveal, but fuck it, it's done now. So you're at
We're
6.
pals. We get on.
Not just on pod. Neil is looks like he's going to cry because we're overrunning so much. So, your show's at 6 o'clock?
5:45.
5:45. Don't arrive at 6.
No.
You will be late.
Yeah, you won't get in. That's too late.
I've got a strict no latecomers policy
What's your
this
policy?
year. No latecomers.
Really?
Strict.
That is strict. zero tolerance.
Absolutely. Not only do we get turned away, but I've told the staff to give you a little slap on the ass as you leave.
Yeah. I don't know what mine is. I usually give him 5 minutes, but it does annoy me really a lot.
What's your show called?
It's called Love That For Me.
Love That For Me by Stuart McPherson.
Dead name, Hollywood Summer.
On the Edinburgh Festival. You can get Stewie McP on Twitter at
Stuart McP.
Boom. And Instagram at
Stuart McPherson _. Less catchy.
God.
Fuck's it.
It needs to be the same across all things.
I know.
Come on.
But
Come on,
it isn't.
Stuart.
Fundamentally, I don't care enough.
Yeah, that's a good attitude to have, I think. Thank you so much for listening, downloading, streaming. If you are watching on YouTube, please give it a little like and a little comment. It helps boost us with the algorithm, and we're trying to
Talk
grow.
about Bob's Burgers.
Well, we can quickly.
They were
No, it's too
They
late.
were on Bob's Burgers.
They were on Bob's Burgers. They were on Game of Thrones. They were on Portal 2. They're on all sorts of things. But hey, maybe next time we'll get into that. Thank you so much. Enjoy your week. Bye.
Thank you.